Hi Capricorn, welcome to your October 2019 Astrology 33 bonus love reading. Thank you to those of you who've liked, viewed, shared, subscribed, and donated to the channel. I appreciate all of that. And for those of you interested in getting a personal reading with me, I will be resuming those again in October, so just check out the description of the video for all the information on that. As far as the spread we have in front of us, it's a spread I call the Bridging the Gap spread, and the way it works is the cards on the left side represent your energies towards the connection with your main love interest. The cards on the right side represent their energies towards the connection. And then these are the past energies, present energies, future energies. Once we get through all those, we'll actually pull some oracle cards to get some additional insight. That's where the bridging the gap dynamic comes into play. And as far as the decks being used, on the left side we have the Lover's Path Tarot. On the right side we have the Tarot of Sexual Magic. Alright, so with that out of the way, the past energy on your side, we have the Queen of Cups and the Six of Cups. So this is actually a card of Scorpio technically, and then this is actually a card of Cancer. So this can just be saying for you guys, Cancer is your opposite sign, so that could definitely be pointing to what's going on there. This could just be saying that maybe for some of you, since for you Scorpio would be your house of friendships, this could just be saying that maybe you might have taken things to the next level with the friend that maybe you see long-term potential with. Another way this could be playing out too, though, is just saying that you're reconnecting with someone from the past, and you do actually see them as long-term commitment potential. And for even a smaller portion of you, this is probably the least likely, but at least I see this could play out for some of you. This can't even be someone that you were married to in the past, and now you guys have reconnected recently. So that could be what's going on there. The past energy on their side is the Fool, King of Swords, and the High Priestess. So these three cards are interesting. So one thing that I do see being a possibility here is saying that, maybe when this person does reconnect with you, they may still be in, or wherever when they did, since this is the past position, maybe when they reconnected with you, they were still in another connection, but they didn't let you know that. That's where the High Priestess energy would come into play there. Because the High Priestess energy can represent being a bit secretive sometimes, not necessarily, putting everything out there. And then for others of you, it can just say that when they reconnected with you, yes, they were in a connection, but they actually might have left that connection behind. Because we do see, you see the two people there, and then we see this energy. And, this is actually an Aquarius energy too, so some of you could be dealing with an Aquarius. I have to at least put that out there. But yeah, that's what I'm seeing for some of you too, which is to say that there's a good chance that they left the connection, but they just didn't let you know that that connection existed. It might have been something that you were completely unaware of. So, for example, maybe if they had approached you in the past, maybe they made it seem like they were single, and maybe they did have intentions to leave the connection at the time, but it seems like for at least some of you, they would have still been in the connection when they first reconnected with you. So it might have been one of those things where, they were just trying to see if there was even any potential for the two of you before they officially left the connection. That could be how it's playing out, but that's what I'm picking up on there, that there's some secretiveness behind another connection in the past on their side. All right, present energy on your side, we have Awakening. So this is actually the equivalent of the Sun card in the regular tarot. So this could just be saying that, maybe because you've reconnected with this person, you're just feeling more vibrant. Maybe this is someone that you really have a deep connection with, and they just make you feel, more playful, youthful, make you feel like you could get loose with them, especially if this is, Six of Cups. Could have been someone that you've reconciled with that you've known for years, so maybe they just help you get back in touch with that side of yourself from back then. That could be what's going on there. And then maybe this is actually something more sudden too, as far as to say, maybe you guys just reconnected in the past, but maybe nothing happened necessarily. Maybe it was just a casual reconnection and you didn't think much of it at the time. Maybe you even realized, oh, they're with someone else. So, okay, I'm not really going to even sweat it, right? But then in the present, with awakening, since that's the sun is also fifth house energy, and your fifth house has Uranus in it right now. And as planets are passing through Scorpio, they're going to be opposing Uranus. So this could just say maybe a sudden change. So, for example, maybe they were in that connection and you didn't pay it too much mind. You're like, okay, well, it was cool to run into them again. Maybe you guys still had that chemistry together, but you're like, all right, they're with someone else now. It's been years, right? Maybe you just kind of dismissed it in your head. And then maybe you find out something with all those transits going through Scorpio and opposing Uranus in your fifth house. And what's interesting about that is the present energy on their side is the Nine of Pentacles. So if you think about Nine of Pentacles, that's usually an energy, it's usually referred to as the single lady energy. It's a Virgo energy also. But what that could just be saying is that, especially with the scissors involved here, and the fact that it's often seen as a single energy, this could just be saying that in the present, they're actually cutting ties with this past relationship. So, for some of you, like I said, you might not have even known that that past relationship was in existence, but for others of you, that might have been, something you had in your mind, like, okay, well, I know they're with someone else. But either way, it looks like in the present, they are actually moving away from that connection. And maybe that's what the awakening is about for you. Maybe some of you are becoming aware of this, that, oh, this person's single now, right? So maybe it's a game changer for you guys, where in the past you were like, oh, I don't know, what their deal is, but maybe you find out that they're single now, and maybe that's what has you thinking, okay, well, maybe we could actually get something off the ground, right? Trying to see if anything else comes to mind with this. And for some of you, maybe this was someone who moved away too, because for you guys, Virgo is your ninth house. So, this could just be saying that maybe they've been at a distance. So maybe it was a physical distance thing with the Fool card, and maybe that was why you weren't really able to do anything, but now maybe you find out that they're moving back, and maybe that's where the Six of Cups energy comes into play too. Maybe they're moving back to the neighborhood, and maybe that's where you guys are getting that reconnection vibe going. But yeah, either way, like I said, even though I did pick up on a definite past relationship here that some of you may not have been aware of, if that's the case, either way, I do see them cutting ties with that in the present. So at least there's that. So that's at least some positive news. In the future position, we have Innocence. So this is actually the equivalent of the Fool card in regular tarot. So we do see the Fool was in their past position, and now we see it in yours. The only thing I would say here is a slight cautionary thing, even though I do feel that they are definitely cutting ties with that past connection. With the card coming up here is Innocence, and then we do see the person with the blindfold on. Oh, if I could get it to focus. Just, be a little bit wary of that, because especially with Mercury retrograde energy coming up too, towards the end of October, and you guys might start to feel it around mid-month because of the shadow period. Just keep an eye out for that, because what I find interesting is on the bottom of the deck on your side, we do have the Nine of Arrows, which is a card about, losing sleep, a lot of anxiety, being trapped in your head, a lot of thoughts going through your mind, and, not communicating them. So, on the one hand, what I always say with the Nine of Swords energy is, if you think about it, in the Rider-Waite too, it's similar to this, where it's just a bunch of swords on the wall. It's like they're not actually in your back or anything. It's like you're just, trapped in your head. So there's not necessarily any guarantee that anything would play out, but it's just that you're so fixated on it mentally, that you get trapped in that energy to where it's almost like it is happening. It feels like it's happening just because you're so stuck in that thought process. So that's why I say for some of you, just be a little bit careful. If there was a past connection you didn't know about, just be a little bit wary of that. Or maybe this was just pointing to past energy for you where, like I said, maybe in the past you guys reconnected and you realized that for some of you, you did know they were in a connection and you're like, oh, well, it's not going to go anywhere. But then in the present, that looks like it's shifting because you find out that they actually are leaving that connection behind. All right, and then the future energy on their side is the Four of Chalices. So this is the equivalent of the Four of Cups. So what I would say there is going back to what I was saying about Mercury retrograde. You know, that's an infamous transit for bringing back exes, right? So given that you reconnected with this person in the past, from what I can see, I don't think that this is necessarily saying that them coming around with you is going to be a Mercury retrograde thing. This could just be pointing more to what I would say is be mindful of the fact that their ex might be coming back around. And the reason that that pops out even more to me is we see the scissors there, just like we saw the scissors here in the Nine of Pentacles. So that could be saying, you know, yeah, they might cut that person off, but then they might come back around again in the future. And like I said, that's a common thing to happen for Mercury retrograde. So, you know, it wouldn't surprise me, right, if their ex did come back around and try to get the connection going again. So just something to watch out for there. The one positive I would say is that for most of you anyway, given that this is the Four of Cups is usually an energy of rejecting offers. So this could just be saying that, you know, maybe they'll come back around, right? But even if they do, you know, they would reject the ex. So maybe that's what your anxiety is about. You know, maybe let's say for some of you they were married and maybe they have kids together, right? So yes, they're separated now, but now you also know, okay, well, they still have to see each other one day, you know, if they have shared custody or something along those lines, right? So you could just be worried, oh, what's happening when they're going to see them. If that's the case, I don't think that they're really up to anything shady, but I do have to at least put it out there for some of you just because what I always say when I see this card in particular, they just, you know, something about the way their body language is, like the way they're looking inward. It looks like they shouldn't be talking, right? It looks like they're almost on the outside, and it looks like they're looking out for someone. So, you know, and then if you look at the way they're dressed, it didn't look like they came from the same place together, right? Like this guy has a hood on and everything. So, you know, to me, that could represent maybe the ex coming back around and trying to talk to them. And like I said, I do feel like for the vast majority of you, if that's the case, the ex, you know, I do feel they turned them down since it is that Four of Cups energy. But just at least be mindful of the fact that, yeah, their ex might come back in the picture in the future. And on the bottom of the deck on their side, we do have the Queen of Pentacles, which is actually a Capricorn energy too. So, you know, to me that just says that you really are their focus. So at least there's that, you know. All right, moving on to the Oracle cards. First, I'll see if we could get any additional messages from the Mystic Moon Oracle deck I have here. And for those of you who haven't seen these readings from me before, I do pre-shuffle this deck, and then I actually try to pull jumpers here. So first I'll be looking to see if there's any unspoken messages from you to them, and then from them to you. And what I do is I shuffle for a bit, and if I don't get anything, then I take that as a sign to just move on rather than like pull one from the top or something like that, since it is just a general reading. But we'll see if we get any jumpers. So I'm just going to shuffle for a bit here and see if there's any unspoken messages from you to them. Okay, got one there. And then we'll see if there's any from them to you. Okay. All right, so The message, unspoken message from you to them is, I can't handle your words right now. So that's interesting, actually, because it looks like positive energy on your side, except for that nine of arrows at the bottom of the deck. So to see this come out too makes me think that maybe there's something more to that nine of arrows in the past. Um, hmm. So for some of you, it may be the other way around, where this could be saying that this is someone coming back from your past who left you for another connection and didn't let you know it. So maybe that's what's going on here. And it wouldn't be for all of you, but the fact that this came out, like I said, these cards look positive by themselves. But if I look at this, this could definitely explain that nine of arrows at the bottom of the deck. So for at least some of you, it could actually play out the other way, where this could be someone who left you for another connection, didn't let you know anything about it, right? And now they're coming back, maybe even because they did leave the ex, right? So I definitely feel here in the present that they've cut ties with an ex. So, maybe that's the thing. They're coming back to you now, but maybe you're like a little hesitant to trust them because you're like, okay, you just left me out of nowhere for someone else, right? So, like, how am I going to trust you? So, that could be what's going on for some of you there. Not the majority, but for at least some of you. And then on their side, we have maybe we're just too different. So, interesting. Because let me see how this could play into the mix. All right, I would say what that could be pointing to is for some of you, if this is actually where you're the one in the future with the Fool energy, maybe you're making an offer to them. So if this is for this group, and this is probably going to be a small portion of you too, for some of you, you might be the ones to actually make an offer to this person, right? And then that could be what that Four of Cups energy is, where they're saying, like I said, the Four of Cups energy is declining an offer. So that could be what's playing out there. But for the majority of you, I don't think that that's really the situation going on. Like I said, I see it more of like when you guys did reconnect, they might have still been dealing with someone. In the present, they are separated from that person. It looks like they cut ties, and it looks like the person might try to come back around, but I most likely see them declining them too. And especially since we do have the Queen of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck, which is your card. So we'll see what the Wisdom of the Oracle adds to the mix, though. Sorry, making a mess over here. So, same situation with this deck. I did pre-shuffle it, so I'm just looking for one card here, and then we'll wrap up. Okay, nothing's coming up yet. I'll shuffle for a little longer. Worst case, with this deck, I will pull at least one card, so if nothing pops up after a bit, I'll just pull one, but we'll see if we can get a jumper first. Almost have one there. Yeah, I'll give it a couple more shuffles, then we'll just pull, because I don't want to be here forever shuffling. Alright, so here's what we'll do. Just pull one from here. Let me just, here we go. Let's see what we got. Chaos and conflict. Alright, So yeah, for some of you, there's definitely going to be some dynamic with an ex. I'm feeling. Like I said, for some of you, it seemed like it was more of a past thing, and maybe it's what it is. Here's what comes to my mind now too. Now I'm thinking about it. So for a lot of you, and maybe because of the fact that maybe that's how you view them anyway, right? Even though they're connected with you, you might think to yourself, well, they left this person to be with me. Why wouldn't they leave me the same way, right? So what could happen is the ex might come back around in the future, right? And then with the innocence card, like I said, with the blindfold and the nine of swords, you might be convinced that there's something going on there. If that's the scenario in particular, so you guys will know if that particular scenario resonates for you. That may not be the case though. Just because, like I said, that Four of Cups does have that energy where usually you're declining the offer. So something to keep in mind there, but we'll see what the actual messages for the cards say. So there it is. There's the artwork, and the number is 33. All right, it says disarray, being at cross purposes with another, the tension of opposites, the value of chaos before order. The Oracle's message, opposing forces come together to create a turbulent atmosphere. But consider the value of chaos that serves you well as you become unmoored by it. Scattered to the winds, you leave behind the parts of yourself you no longer need and disperse seeds to reinvent yourself anew. Although the conflict appears to exist externally, its essence is also internal, projected outward and causing disarray. You may find yourself at cross purposes with someone else, facing a storm you feel you can't control. Yet every storm passes and chaos leads to a reordering of things. Conflict provides a way to see more than one side of a situation. Look upon this as just a moment in time when you may need to take shelter and step away from the fray. Don't be too eager to fight. This is a time to understand rather than to be understood. So that's interesting there, and like I said, maybe that's what it is for some of you, where I could see that dynamic playing out, where maybe in the future the ex does try to come back around, and maybe that's really what has you worried, and maybe you guys get into some kind of argument over that, and from their perspective they might be like, no, I definitely cut this person off. And like I said, especially for some of you, if it's someone where they have kids with the person or something like that, to where they do still have to interact in some way, you might start to worry that, oh, there's something else going on there. For a lot of you, I'd say like 90% of you, if that's the case, where the ex does come back around, I do feel like they're not, doing anything. But I do have to at least say, like I said, since that card itself in this particular deck, they look a little shady, I have to at least say it's possible, but I don't think it's likely. All right. The relationship message says stubbornness is keeping you in a state of opposition. The incessant need to be right will only serve to prolong the conflict that deep down you want to be resolved. This is an opportune moment to learn about your values, your sense of self, what's really important to you. Some things are non-negotiable. If that's true, it's not necessary to fight. Can you find a way through the stormy emotions to higher ground? Soon the air will clear, and you will be in a much better place than before, for the storm will have passed, blazing a path for new growth in its wake. Things can become electric and enlightened, always better than before, if you use this time constructively. So yeah, I mean, that whole message just gives me like a Mercury retrograde vibe. So maybe that's what it's pointing to. Like I said, maybe with the Mercury retrograde, that yes, maybe for some of you it might physically bring an ex back for this person, but you might just misconstrue it with the Mercury retrograde energy. And maybe even if you do ask them innocently, quote unquote, since we have the innocence card there, maybe they'll take it the wrong way and then things will just escalate. So just something to keep in mind there. Hopefully that resonated for you guys. Though we'll wrap up here and I'll see you all next month. All right. Bye.